So what we wanted to present today is this whole idea of when you're doing everything right, but life is still going wrong. When you've got all of these healing modalities under your belt, you're doing the gratitude, you're doing the energy work, you're seeing the healers, you're practicing the affirmations, you're putting the damn stones on your chakras, like, I don't care, all of those things. And yet life is still the shits. Can anybody relate to that? Anybody who's on the live stream? If this is your reality, let me know, because I know that a lot of star seeds, a lot of healers, a lot of earth seeds have been searching and searching and searching for information, and they're trying to embody it, they're trying to live it, and they have so many things at their disposal, and yet life hasn't improved. Their body is still not operating the way they want, their finances haven't changed, their health still sucks, they're still haunted by their own wounding, and things just are not improving. It gets to the point sometimes where people actually go, well, gosh, I guess this stuff isn't even real. I guess it doesn't work.
I've definitely been there. It's like, I'm doing all the things that I've been told to do, and it's not changing anything. Like, I have moments where I feel maybe a little bit more calm or a little bit more peaceful, but in general, it's like my life is still a hot mess. That was definitely my experience before I started really diving in with the homework that you were giving me in the various classes that I was taking. So yeah, 100%.
Yeah. And the other thing we see is, like, we think we're going forward, right? This is the most annoying one. Let me know if you guys can relate to this one, where we think we're going forward and we've got it all figured out. And then all of a sudden that trigger circles back and back and back and smacks us back down. And all of a sudden we're in another deep, dark night of the soul. And we're like, holy frick dang, this sucks, right? I thought I had this figured out, but my mom's still triggering me. The cord is still there, right? Whatever it is. And so there is this cyclical, obnoxious, I'm going to use the word obnoxious thing that happens when people start trying on all of these different spiritual tools and all of these different modalities. We might even get into the thing, I call it healer hopping. Anybody guilty? This is where you go to one healer and the thing doesn't fix right away. So you hop over to the next one's office and it doesn't quite fix. So you're like, not the one. You hop over to the next one's office, and we are jumping. And yet nothing anybody says shifts it. Like, what the actual banana farts?
Like, am I that much of a puzzle, really? Like, it can't be this hard.
Right? Maybe you're just a hot mess express, and maybe you're unfixable.
Ooh.
So why does this happen? Why do we get into this stream of consciousness where we know everything is possible, where we know everything is a range of experiences, where we know that where there is light, there has to be dark, where we know transmutation exists, where we know we can create just as much as we can destroy? How is it that we're still stuck and so wounded as a human? I have some theories that I want to share with you guys today, because I did a count up the other day and it kind of shocked me. I am now over 3,000 individual different clients through my doors. That's not repeat sessions. That's different clients through my doors doing this work. Like, I am way down the rabbit hole with it. And I have started to see some really interesting patterns within humans of who flies and who doesn't. Who fixes their stuff and gets going, and who stays exactly where they began. And I think you guys are going to want to know about this little list.
Yeah, please share. I want to know this.
I was like, let me in on this one.
I mean, I have been working with you for a couple of years now, and I've definitely seen some patterns. And so I have a feeling that I'm going to pick up on, like, you're going to drop something and be like, oh yeah, for sure. But I also have a feeling, because you've worked with so many different people, that you're going to bring up some things that I hadn't even considered. And I am so excited for this conversation.
I think we should start with the number one mind blower.
Mm-hmm.
The number one thing that holds most of the clients I see from actually healing is trying to heal problems within their bodies and their minds that aren't even theirs.
What?
What? Yeah. The number one problem I see in my clients is trying to heal things in their field, in their body, in their mind, that isn't even theirs. It doesn't originate from them. They didn't start it. They didn't build it. It's something they picked up along the way because we walk around as psychic sponges all day, every day, and we are filtering people's problems, or we're hoarding them, or we're tucking them in our little fat roll over here or in this love handle down there, right? We take everybody's stuff on, and instead of discerning through it, we buy it as our own. Case in point, I had a client this past week, and he has somebody in his life he's been filtering for a long time that has manifested as a cancer in his body.
Whoa.
Well, the cancer isn't even his. And by the end of our session together, his tumor had shrunk. 45 minutes and we have a tumor now. How is that possible? Because it wasn't even his frequency to begin with. And as soon as the body can recognize self from non-self, it can clean up anything.
So if this is like, but if we're experiencing these, like these pains, these diagnoses, these illnesses in our body, in our experience, doesn't that mean that it's ours?
Nope.
So
we are living out somebody else's records and somebody else's timelines. Think about it. How many of you guys out there, if you looked back to your childhood, could see the moments where you're like, oh my God, I'm my mother. Or, oh my gosh, I just sounded like grandma. We mimic people all the time, and we will buy their timelines, their information as our own. Now, the problem becomes as soon as we stop discerning between what is ours and what is not, then our body has no other choice once our brain decides it. Okay, so once the neural groove says, oh, this pain is mine, my back hurts, I have a headache, over and over and over again, the body cannot tell the difference between a dream and a lie. It can't tell the difference between truth and lie. The brain has to go, okay, this is what you've bought as truth, and the body has to follow chemically, neurologically, immune system wise. That is the number one thing that keeps people held back. So if I was going to give you guys a tool, and really I should be charging $1 million for this, it's so complicated. Are you guys ready? Truth? Is this even mine? I swear, you guys, this little sentence will save you lifetimes upon lifetimes of pain, of trauma, of animosity. Huge. Okay. Violet, you ready for the next one?
Yes, I sure am.
This one's a little triggering. The next one of why people don't heal is they're actually addicted to their discomfort.
Oh yes, I have seen
You
this.
know this
I have had moments of experiencing this one myself. I'm not gonna lie. Yeah, it's so uncomfortable. You just saying that, I'm like, ugh, yuck.
So people actually become addicted to their discomfort because it's familiar. And unfortunately, the way we have been conditioned in humanity is a creature of comforts. We have patterns, we have habits, we have ways that we ingrain ourselves in our day-to-day movements. And so when we try to think about creating something totally new and stepping out into a new level, new devil, we go, ah, right? We freak out and we're like, oh my gosh, that's scary. Or I have a fear about. And we make up a false reality about what's going to happen if we change our ways, right? You know, I think some of us even feel a little bit lost when we are not feeling the chaos and the discomfort and the pain around us because it's our normal operating system. Actually, it's your body's homeostasis at that time, which means that your body has decided this is our normal operating system, so I have to teach myself to be okay in these conditions and circumstances, which is pretty nuts. So not only do we neurologically buy it, so does our hormonal system, right? So now we have a twofold problem. We've not only got a brain and a soul that are buying into this discomfort pattern, we also have a chemical-laden body that is sending signals to keep these things in place, right? So crazy. Oh man. Okay. Should we hit one more?
Yeah, let's do it. Trifecta.
Okay, trifecta.
Yeah.
The next one I see, which is the number, like probably my number 3 as to why people don't change. Oh, this one might punch some of us in the gut. We really want to just be good at something the first time we do it.
Oh, perfectionism syndrome.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's like, unless I can be perfect, I'm not even going to try.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've been there.
Yeah, we have this thing ingrained in us that when we step out and we're like, oh my gosh, I'm going to learn this new energy healing modality. I'm going to pick up a paintbrush and you're going to be the next Picasso, or I'm going to go and learn to public speak. We automatically go, okay, well, if I'm going to do this, I have to do it right and I have to be perfect. And if I'm not perfect, then it must not be the thing for me. And so we also have a thing in this body where, and in this earth plane, where we will avoid practice. And learning to stay on top of your emotions is a practice. Learning to clear things is a practice. Learning to clear yourself is a practice. And you might not be good at it the first time you try. I wasn't naturally like this, you guys. So 4.5 years ago, I was the epitome of a hot mess express. I was an anxious basket case. I couldn't tell my thoughts from somebody else's. My body was sick all the time. My husband swore I was a hypochondriac because I was allergic to everything. Food went right through me, like nothing agreed with me. I was constantly on the emotional hamster wheel, and at a whim of everybody else's emotions, that's how I would feel. I had no control over self, right? And so the first time I tried an energy healing thing, you betcha it didn't freaking work. Because I hadn't mastered how to do it and I didn't believe it. And I wasn't looking at all levels and layers of the body, right? I was only looking at the top level, most obnoxious symptom instead of looking at the bigger picture.
And that's kind of what we do with the allopathic medicine ways. We look at like the loudest symptom and try to turn that off or dull it, or,
Right.
make it a little bit more tolerable.
And that's what allopathic medicine is built on, is looking at things at an atomic molecular level and how do we either increase a signal or decrease a signal. Whereas when we look at something from a complementary, it's looking at the consciousness down. Well, truth be told, you guys, we can't leave either of them behind, because science is spirituality and spirituality is science. Everything is on a quantum physics scale. And so you cannot be one without the other, right? And so when we are looking at this healing puzzle, the next thing I see that holds people back is they forget we are human. Ugh, gritty, right? They're like, I come from the stars, so I should just be able to be perfect and I should just will it into this physical being.
This was definitely my experience. Like, that I've had issues with dealing with all layers of food. Like, I don't want to have to think about preparing it. I don't want to actually go through the process of preparing it. It's so annoying because I had this thing running where it was like, but over there, I could just instantly manifest what I wanted and I didn't have to actually work for it.
Mm-hmm.
And that one was like driving me crazy for a long time.
Yeah, but we're here. We chose this physicality where we have to express and alchemize differently than we have in other timelines and other bodies. And so therefore, we have to learn to master this one.
Mm-hmm.
And so whatever we do on the spiritual has a physical consequence. Now, consequence doesn't equal bad. Consequence just means an end result. So you could give it a good, bad reaction, but that's not what it actually means. So if I go through and, for example, I'm like looking at a belief system I've held for a long time. Let's say I have this belief that nothing's ever going to go right for me, that I have bad luck. Well, my body has also bought that idea. And so my body is constantly going to keep my hormones in a cycle to keep that thought in place. And so I can't just clear the thought. I also have to address the physicality here, right? They go hand in hand. This is one of the things I'm really adamant about teaching throughout our entire decode sequence, because we often come into energy healing and we want to look or leave the body behind. We have to bring it with us all the way through. There's so much more. So likely everybody's already starting to do everything right. We're just forgetting a level or a layer that is pertinent to what you're trying to heal. It's not that you're completely missing the point. It's not that you're necessarily doing it wrong. We might just not be doing it to the full spectrum of what's required to do the actual shift. Now, here's the next thing I'm going to drop out. This isn't my original statement, FYI. One of the things that dropped into my field years ago, which I absolutely loved, is somebody said to me, the consciousness that you create or that you use to create the scenario you are in now is not the consciousness you can use to get yourself out of it. Which means that in its entirety, your entire operating system, your environment, the way you think, the way you move, the way you act, has to be completely different than what got you into the mess in the first place. And a lot of us are sometimes afraid to make those big leaps, or we are getting super reactive and we think that it means I'm going to have to leave this relationship. Sometimes it actually just means taking a self-sabbatical. Sometimes it actually just means installing a boundary. Sometimes it just means that we have to all of a sudden say, okay, I decided I'm going to get stronger. Well, in order to get stronger, you can't Netflix and chill every day. Like, you got to get up, get on your treadmill. You got to go for a walk. You got to lift the weights. You actually got to move your body because we are physical, right? And so we can't take any part of us and leave it behind. And that is the entirety of what this conversation is about, is that the reason things are still going wrong for people is they are leaving a layer of consciousness behind. It's what it comes down to every single time.
So somebody brought up this comparison thing, like that stops them. They're comparing themselves to others. And I mean, to me, that feels like it's related to that perfectionism conversation.
Could be.
The comparison seems like a big one too. Like, we see it all the time.
Oh, huge. We have it happen in our students too. They're like, oh, this one's really good at seeing the Akashic records, so I must suck. And I'm like, okay, well, what did you know? What did you hear? What did you feel? Because they all weave the picture together. Yeah, comparison is the killer of all consciousness. That is my quote. So comparison is absolutely the killer of all consciousness, because as soon as we get into that game where we are butting up against somebody's field and trying to be exactly their likeness, we are leaving a lot of us on the table. We are like, hey, I'm leaving that part of me behind. I'm just going to mimic you, or I'm going to try. And then when it doesn't work because we don't have their source coding, we don't have their experiences, we don't have their conditioning, we get mad, we get frustrated, we feel like we're not enough. We feel like, we're just not good at our core, or that we suck, or we're not perfect. Or maybe we start going, I must be in the wrong place, right? Instead of actually going, what's true for me? How do I move forward beside this person without having to be exactly like this person? I actually want to bring something up, which I think is super funny. And I think our listeners and everybody who's tuned in here today will get a giggle out of this.
So is this a story about you and me?
No, but we could tell that
okay.
one too. I wanted to share about an email we got this week to our team, where somebody wrote in and said that I was a cult leader.
Oh, yes. That one was good for a giggle.
It was good for a giggle. Oh my gosh, Violet and I, you guys do a vote right now if you want us to do a vote of some of the things we get behind the scenes, like the crazy shit people say to healers in a healing business. Like, let us know if you want to hear that one, because I feel like we need to do a spoof reel, because good gravy. Anyways, so somebody wrote in to our customer service team and they said, you are a cult leader, a whole bunch of other really interesting choice words. And I went, geez, at least it's one I can be proud of. Here's why. The number one thing I ask you guys to do is show up in your authenticity as who you are, and don't you dare turn into a chameleon and try to be like me or like Violet or anybody else in this group, because your source coding, your experiences, your lensing, your perspectives, and the lessons you have to share are so relevant to the entire tapestry we are building. When we get into spirituality, I guess this is one of the other things I see clients doing all the time. Here we go, number 5, I think, is they are trying to hold this ideal of what they think a spiritual person talks, acts, and looks like. They get the hairstyle, they're wearing the clothes, they've got the rock jewelry, they're meditating, they're loving and lighting all over everybody, they're signing off namaste, right? And we are jumping into yet another grid that limits our consciousness.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. And so this is so difficult for some people to understand because we've been seeking forever somewhere where we fit in and mostly matches our ideals. But truly, the space of consciousness that we all want to become requires each of us to hold our own authentic field. Like, there is a reason I say banana farts, and if you start saying it, I love you, but you're probably mimicking me. You're not holding true to who you are, right? We did mildly decide that the next time somebody sends that, Violet, what's your line? What was Daryl's line about the Kool-Aid?
Oh, yeah, my partner, he's such a ham sometimes. He's like, because I told him about this email that we got, and he's like, you should respond and ask if they also want to unsubscribe from the complimentary Kool-Aid delivery or something like that. He's like, there's 5 flavors they can choose from.
FYI, complimentary Kool-Aid. We don't have any, but
No,
it was
we
just
don't.
so funny because everything I stand for, there's 2 major things for me. If you guys are new to my work, here's my 2 major things. The first thing, I am on a mission to have healers stop hurting people, because we don't realize when we are working with other humans what our limitations, projections, and refusal to go forward in ourselves does to our clients. And we don't understand how that hazes and clouds up their ability to move forward. So number 1, I'm on a mission to have healers stop hurting people. Number 2, I am here to help you guys figure out who the frick dang you are, so that you can stand on your own 2 feet and you can experience this game called life in the way that you decided you were going to do. Not because somebody is shouting from the mountaintops that we all need to get in line with this mission. Not because the world is turning to chaos. What is true at your core? Because we saw everything that was coming before we came here. We knew what the timeline was. We designed our mission around that, which means that anytime we morph off of that, we are screwing up the end trajectory of what we are hoping to achieve. And so everything in our healing work is about uniting that mind, the body, and soul. And we got to take this to a whole new level, new devil, you guys, because humanity's not getting it yet, right? A lot of the healers aren't getting it yet. The metaphysical community isn't getting it yet. It means that what we think and how we act and how we move has to be in alignment with us, our core light, not the person beside us, not the guru we're listening to, not the person who sounds the most convincing on YouTube. Us, our frequency. And so I want to leave you with this for this live. I would love for you guys to do a little bit of introspection of where you've left a part of you behind in your healing work. When you've been trying to fix your mindset, how were you also loving on your body? When you've been trying to love on your body, how were you also honoring your spirituality? Or where did you leave those things behind? Okay, I want you to take a look at that, because when you can start to recognize it and you can bring it forward, oh my gosh, does it make this work more powerful, more potent, and you can get her done really fast, son. Like, it is quick. Yesterday, I had a man come in with a cancer tumor, and by the time we were done, it was over half shrunk. How does that happen? Because all he had to do was sync up. You guys all have that capability. The diagnoses you guys are living with, no matter what the doctors have said to you, are not permanent. Everything you are experiencing is temporary. And all we have to do is figure out how to sync you up. That's it. That's all. We'll see you guys in the next episode of Conversations in Consciousness.